Welcome back to 5-Minute Fantasy Football, presented to you by the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Today we're talking about the Indianapolis Colts. This is a fun team. Anthony Richardson's one of the most hyped players this offseason. Michael Pittman's coming off of a huge year. He just got paid. Jonathan Taylor's contract stuff's behind us. He got paid. And then they drafted Anthony Mitchell to go with Josh Downs and Alec Pierce. So let's talk about it. Before we do that, make sure you go to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code FFSGPN so they know we sent you. You can actually do they have weekly discounts for the first week, but they also have season-long pick'ems. You can do Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson right now, the higher or lower is 7.5 on the rushing touchdowns. What do you think? Can he get more than 7.5 rushing touchdowns, or are you going to take the lower? Make sure you use promo code FFSGPN. So Jonathan Taylor, of course, that's going to be one of the top picks, but Anthony Richardson is the guy, and everything's going to depend on him. And so everyone wants to point to his legs and his rushing and expect big things. Last year, he played in just about 4 games, and he was very fantasy friendly. He scored touchdowns on the ground. He scored a couple touchdowns through the air, and you can see the potential with this guy. We have Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator, offensive play caller and the head coach. And with Anthony Richardson, you're looking at Jalen Hurts. Well, what did Jalen Hurts do his first year at quarterback, first year as the starter? He did just about what Mike's projecting here. He had 10 rushing touchdowns, about 800 yards on the ground, and he threw for 16 touchdowns. He finishes QB8, and that's where Mike has him projected. Unfortunately, on Sleeper, you're having to pay a little bit higher. You're paying QB6. So for you to get any return, he needs to be a top 5 guy. Is that in his outcomes? Yes, that's absolutely in his outcomes. But there's other outcomes in here that say that he could be QB7, QB8, QB9, QB10. If he misses some games, drop out of the top 12. And so he's a guy that you really have to have some conviction on because you're having to pay for it. What was fun about Jalen Hurts when he crushed it was you were getting him in the 8th, 9th, 10th, or even 11th round. You're getting him in the 3rd or 4th round. It is very expensive, and your Superflex league is his top 6, 7 pick. Through the air, they have him projected for 3,386 yards passing, 16 touchdowns, 12 interceptions in 15 games. On the ground, 545 yards and 9 rushing touchdowns. That's QB8, which is very good, but again, you're paying QB6 prices, so you're not really getting a whole bunch of return. Jonathan Taylor, he's coming off the board as running back 5. Mike has him projected for running back 4, so almost spot on. A little bit of return. 1,177 yards, 10 touchdowns on the ground, 41 receptions, and 1 touchdown through the air. So that's 11 touchdowns and about 1,500 yards all purpose. That's PPR running back 4. There is no Zach Moss. There is no contract situation, and we really don't know who the clear-cut number 2 is. Maybe the number 2 is not even on the roster. Maybe someone gets cut. Maybe it's Samaje Perine. Maybe, someone else comes over here, Miles Sanders, and becomes the number 2. Miles Sanders he has some familiarity with the offense, and Shane Steichen, I think he's a logical fit. But Jonathan Taylor is going to be that guy. He's got paid, and he's going to get a workhorse load. And so everyone talks about the big 3. I would consider Jonathan Taylor in there as well. I think there's a teardrop after him. I really want to get Jonathan Taylor in my leagues if I can. Michael Pittman, he's the clear-cut number 1 there, and you can see by the ADP, there is a clear drop-off. Nobody knows what to do with the next 2 guys, and Mike doesn't either. So 144 targets, 99 catches, 1,084 yards for Michael Pittman, 4 receiving touchdowns. Again, only 16 for Anthony Richardson, so there's not a lot to go around. Of course, if Richardson goes up to 24, 25, 26 touchdowns, you're seeing Pittman get maybe 7 or 8 of those. Anthony Mitchell, right now they have him Mike has him as the number 2, and training camp says that he might even be the 3 or the 4. He's going off as right now he's cheap. He's wide receiver 53 at 122. Josh Downs, he's going to be wide receiver 60, and he's at pick 140. And so he's got Downs at 74 and Anthony Mitchell at 72, basically splitting the pot. You have 80 targets each, 46 catches, 643 yards, and 3 touchdowns for Mitchell. 53 receptions, 596 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Josh Downs. I prefer Downs. I think he's a better option, and he's cheaper. He's got familiarity in this offense. He was one of the first reads and first targets when Gardner Minshew was there. I know it's Gardner Minshew, not Anthony Richardson, but they're going to want Richardson to get the ball out quick, and Downs is someone that can get open. He plays in the slot, and I think he's got an opportunity here. The tight ends, Jelani Woods, tight end 28. He's going off the board at tight end 30. Mike's got him at tight end 28. There's not a lot of production going to tight ends. Kind of a three-headed monster here, where if you combined all those numbers, they might be decent, but they're splitting it 3 ways. Jelani Woods, 48 targets, 32 catches, 350 for 2 touchdowns, tight end 28. And then Kylan Granson, 21 receptions, 213 yards, 1 touchdown, tight end 46. So again, I think you're really looking at, a lot of the offense going to Anthony Richardson, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman. There's really not many other pieces you're interested in. For me, I'd like to take a shot on Josh Downs. Maybe in best ball, I'd go with A.D. Mitchell, but Alec Pierce has really shined based on the training camp reports, and he's going to be someone that A.D. Mitchell has to fight for to get out there on the field, where Josh Downs, I feel like, has a solidified role in the slot. And then for Jonathan Taylor, like I said, I don't know who the handcuff's going to be, whether it's going to be Trey Sermon, Evan Hull, Tyler Goodson, or somebody that's not even on the roster yet. But I would focus on those pieces. And again, with Anthony Richardson, unless you're really, really psyched about him and you think he's going to throw for 4,000 yards or get 25 passing touchdowns, I think you're probably overpaying. And so I know there's all the hype, but I'm just, would rather a surefire guy like a Burrow, a Stroud, or a Kyler Murray. So that's 5-minute fantasy football. Went a little bit over today. As always, good luck this season.